5. When I came to you, brothers and sisters, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I came to you in weakness and in fear, with much trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on man's wisdom, but on God's power. Those verses have become my theme, my prayer before I speak before a group, before I write something. Writing is incredibly vulnerable. Speaking out of my heart is an incredibly vulnerable position because I'm sharing these deep hurts with people. But after I miscarried the first time, I was appalled at how little I knew about others who had experienced infant loss. I felt like I could barely survive that pain. And so, where was everyone else? Why wasn't anyone else talking about this? So, I looked online at books and I saw 10 years ago I had a miscarriage, 15 years ago I had a miscarriage. And I felt like in order to validate, to justify the pain I experienced, I wanted a book written right then and there in that time. So I started writing. I wrote in the midst of my grief so that people would not be alone in theirs. And that was really important to me because I felt like writing in the grief encapsulated that pain then. And the writing wasn't quality the first time around, but a publisher picked it up, we edited it, and I was able to keep the poignancy of the pain in the book, the way I felt, but then also elevate the level of the reading. So that's what I did with Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms. Then in 2017, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. 20 months diagnosis to death. And again, I wondered where people were. How is it that there are widows and widowers all over the planet? And I've never understood this grief before. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that if we've never experienced something like that before, then we just can't even fathom the pain until it hits us ourselves. That depth of pain is so intense. And so until you feel it, experience it, you just can't even fathom what it was like. I think another part of that is along the way I've realized that I have this unique gift to articulate the hard things that other people don't know how to put into words. So, as with my book, Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms, thousands of women have read it. Hundreds of women have thanked me for writing it. Oh my gosh, I felt like I had a friend to walk with me through the grief. Oh my gosh, you were able to say things that I didn't know how to put into words. And so from those responses, from those reviews, I realized, oh, that's not something that everyone is able to do. I have recently compiled this book of poems called, and I'm calling it She Told Them They Were Loved. I'll tell you more about that title here in a minute. But these poems are all poems that I've written through the grief. I wrote some of them right after my late husband passed away in 2019. And I don't even remember writing the poetry. That is how foggy my brain was. But I wanted to compile this book of poems to share with other people who've experienced grief. Like, you're not alone. I have felt these things too. And then my prayer is also that if someone's trying to support someone in grief, that they read these and they understand a little bit of insight into what their person is feeling. After my husband died, and this was not the case after I experienced infant loss, but after my late husband died, we had 3 girls. They were 8, 7, and 4 at the time. And I felt like I'd lost my spare set of keys. I felt like I had to stay alive. It was a peer pressure. It was a weird, strange peer pressure to keep living, to stay alive, to not accidentally die in a car accident, because I didn't want to leave my girls as orphans. I was the spare set of keys, and if my girls lost the spare set of keys, they would have nothing. And so there's this weird peer pressure to stay alive, but also this strange perspective on life. I'd never had an urgency to live before, but it was also this urgency that time is short. When someone really close to you dies, you understand that you don't know how long you get to live on this earth. And I started thinking about what I want my purpose to be. What is the point of living? I mean, part of it was depression. Part of it was like, well, what's the point of going to buy groceries and milk and bread if we're all going to just die anyway? And so some of that wasn't exactly healthy at the time. But out of that, as I healed, I just started thinking about, like, what is my purpose here in this world, in this life? And my purpose has always been to leave the world better than I found it. That's what I want to do. And also, I started thinking about what I wanted my epitaph to say, which is a normal thing for people in grief. And I want my epitaph to say, she told them they were loved. That's what I want. I want people to know when they meet me, when they talk with me, I want them to feel validated and listened to and loved. And that's what I want my life to be. So that's what the title of my poetry book is. She told them they were loved. And I am so excited. It releases June 26th. It's going to be on Amazon. And I'm excited to see what God does with this book and the number of people who are touched and healed because of the words that they read, or the words that they read and then the feelings that they're able to confront because of the words they read. My prayer for this book for you is that you know that you are not alone. You know that you are loved.